Imagine if a war that started in Eastern Europe suddenly spilled into the Middle East. A single attack, one commercial ship, and now another country is threatening retaliation. What began as a conflict between Russia and Ukraine may now be creating tensions far beyond the battlefield. According to Iranian officials, a vessel linked to Iran was allegedly attacked, and Tehran says there will be consequences. The warning has immediately raised concerns among military analysts and world leaders. Because whenever another nation becomes involved in an already volatile conflict, the risk of a much larger crisis begins to grow. If these claims are confirmed, this could mark another dangerous step in an already fragile global situation. So, is this simply an isolated incident, or are we witnessing the early stages of a much broader geopolitical confrontation? In today's video, we'll break down what reportedly happened, why Iran is blaming Ukraine, what both sides are saying, what we know so far, and why governments around the world are watching this story so closely. Let's dive in. The latest tensions began after Iranian officials claimed that a ship linked to Iran was struck in what they described as an attack involving Ukraine. According to Tehran, the vessel was targeted in an incident that has quickly become the focus of international attention. Iran has strongly condemned what it describes as an unacceptable act and warned that it reserves the right to respond. Those statements immediately raised concerns among diplomats, military analysts, and governments already watching the ongoing conflict in the region. At the time of these reports, however, many of the details surrounding the incident remain disputed. Officials from different countries have offered conflicting versions of what happened, making it difficult to independently verify every claim. As with many international incidents, the first reports often contain limited information, while investigations and intelligence assessments continue behind the scenes. Even so, one thing is already clear: the accusations themselves have significantly increased diplomatic tensions. Whenever another country becomes linked to a conflict that has already reshaped the security landscape in Europe, concerns about wider regional instability begin to grow. Analysts warn that incidents like this can have consequences far beyond the immediate event, especially if governments respond with military action instead of diplomacy. That's why this story has attracted such intense international attention, with world leaders closely monitoring every official statement and every new development as the situation unfolds. At first glance, this may seem like just another headline in an already crowded news cycle, but the potential consequences could be far more significant than they appear. The war between Russia and Ukraine has already reshaped global politics, disrupted energy markets, and forced governments around the world to rethink their security strategies. Now, if tensions involving Iran continue to escalate, another highly strategic region could become more directly involved in the broader geopolitical landscape. That possibility is exactly what has many analysts concerned. The Middle East remains one of the world's most important regions for energy production and international shipping. A large portion of the global oil supply passes through waterways that are vital to international trade. Any military confrontation involving Iran could disrupt those routes, increase shipping costs, push oil prices higher, and create uncertainty across financial markets. History has shown that even relatively small incidents in this region can trigger reactions far beyond the countries directly involved. That's why governments, intelligence agencies, and military experts are closely monitoring every new statement and every new development. At this stage, no one knows whether this incident will lead to further escalation or eventually be resolved through diplomacy. But one thing is certain: even a single attack at sea has the potential to send shockwaves throughout the global economy and international politics. Iranian officials have described the alleged attack as completely unacceptable and have warned that those responsible will face consequences. According to Tehran, the incident represents a serious violation that cannot simply be ignored. At the same time, many of the facts surrounding what happened remain contested. Different governments and officials have released conflicting accounts, and independent verification of several key claims is still ongoing. This is not unusual during international crises. In the early stages of major geopolitical events, information is often incomplete, contradictory, and influenced by the perspectives of the countries involved. That's why analysts are urging caution before reaching definitive conclusions. Security experts say it's important to distinguish between confirmed facts, official statements, and allegations that have yet to be independently verified. Meanwhile, the diplomatic consequences are already becoming visible. Public accusations, warnings of possible retaliation, and growing political pressure can all increase tensions even before the full picture is known. The coming days will likely be critical. As more evidence emerges and governments continue to respond, the international community will be watching closely to see whether this dispute moves toward further escalation or whether diplomatic efforts succeed in preventing a broader crisis. The biggest question now is simple. What happens next? History has shown that incidents involving military actions at sea can quickly increase tensions between nations. If Iran decides to retaliate, the situation could become even more complicated. On the other hand, diplomatic efforts may help prevent a broader confrontation. Much will depend on how governments respond over the coming days, and whether new evidence changes the current understanding of what happened. For now, world leaders are closely monitoring every statement, every military movement, and every diplomatic signal, because in today's interconnected world, even a single incident can trigger consequences that reach far beyond the region where it began. So, what options does Iran have now? One possibility is a diplomatic response. Iran could raise the issue through international organizations, demand investigations, or seek support from allied nations. Another possibility would be economic or political retaliation. In more serious scenarios, analysts warn that military responses cannot be completely ruled out. However, any direct retaliation would carry significant risks. A broader confrontation could draw additional countries into an already unstable region. For that reason, many governments are urging restraint while more information becomes available. At this stage, no one knows which path Iran will ultimately choose, but every new statement from Tehran is being watched very closely. Even if this dispute appears far away, its consequences could be felt around the world. Whenever tensions rise in the Middle East, global markets react. Oil prices often become more volatile. Shipping companies may face higher insurance costs. International trade routes can become less secure. Financial markets also tend to respond quickly whenever geopolitical risks increase. For businesses and consumers, that can eventually translate into higher transportation costs and more expensive goods. This is why investors, governments, and international organizations closely monitor every development in the region. The effects of geopolitical tensions rarely stay within one country's borders. Despite the strong rhetoric, diplomacy remains one of the most important tools available. Throughout history, many international crises have been prevented from escalating through negotiations behind closed doors. Countries often issue tough public statements while diplomatic channels continue working in private. This allows governments to defend their positions without immediately resorting to military action. At the same time, diplomatic efforts become more difficult when emotions are running high and public pressure increases. The coming days may determine whether this incident leads to further escalation or eventually fades through negotiations. For now, the international community continues to call for caution from all sides. There is another reason why this story matters so much. The conflict between Russia and Ukraine has already changed global politics in ways few people expected. Now, any event involving Iran raises concerns that another major regional power could become more directly involved in the broader geopolitical landscape. Whether or not that happens remains uncertain, but governments are preparing for multiple possible scenarios. Military analysts, intelligence agencies, and financial institutions are all paying close attention. In today's interconnected world, regional conflicts can have global consequences faster than ever before. That's why this story has become one of the most closely watched international developments right now. At this point, many questions remain unanswered. Will Iran carry out its threat? Will diplomacy ease the tensions? Or could this become another major chapter in an already unstable international situation? The answers may become clearer over the coming days as more information emerges and governments continue to respond. One thing is certain, the world will be watching every move very carefully. Now I'd like to hear your opinion. Do you think this situation will calm down through diplomacy, or do you believe it could escalate further? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and want more updates on international politics, global conflicts, and the biggest stories shaping our world, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And before you leave, click on the next video that's on your screen right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.